Welcome to Keep Smiling, the e-commerce customer experience podcast. Selling products online is challenging and can lead to poor customer experiences. Each episode, we explore how entrepreneurs and organizations in e-commerce are delivering delightfully unexpected experiences to their shoppers and customers. Amazon, Shopify, artificial intelligence, we'll discuss what matters today and what you can do to build a better e-commerce business. We'll show you how. Hello, listeners, and thank you again for tuning in. I'm your host, Ty Walters, and joining me is my co-host, Michael Melgar.
Hello there, guys.
Michael, today is July 2nd as we're recording this. It's finally warm in Wisconsin. How does it feel down in Atlanta?
It feels great. Beautiful sunny days so far. We had a week or so of just rainy weather, but it's beautiful out now, and I'm going to go outside right after we record.
Today's show is all about product reviews on Amazon. If product reviews on Amazon interest you, we have a lot of good content coming up. We've already written a blog post about this content, so we have all the details in order. We're going to preview that for you today. If you prefer the text, you can always read that in our blog. Go to sellersmile.com/blog. It's one of the most recent posts, and it's entitled Amazon's New Customer Reviews Dashboard. Manage your product reviews right from Seller Central. I believe Michael was the main author on that post. It was sort of a team effort, but we were so excited as an agency when we saw Amazon release this new feature. We had to write about it right away, and we've been using it for quite a while already.
We actually have a reputation management team who's in charge of interacting with product reviews and seller feedback, and they were the ones who discovered this update. So as soon as they did, they were like, wow, this is amazing. We don't have to continue doing it the way we were. So everyone got really excited. This is definitely a big upgrade for how we run our reputation management services, because in the past, we've used different services, different software that might perhaps send us like review notifications or might have some sort of dashboard. We found a lot of times with several of our clients that unfortunately the reviews weren't updating live. So it was maybe 2 or 3 days outdated at times. So because of that, we ended up actually moving to more of a manual workflow right before the customer reviews dashboard. So the introduction of the customer reviews dashboard is really big for us because it allows us to work a lot faster, allows us to be a lot more efficient with the way that we handle customer reviews. And it says a lot of good things about how Amazon feels about engaging with your customer reviews.
Right. And to speak on the other side of this new feature, Michael, you referenced third-party softwares that are meant or set up to help you to address your reviews, get clarity into them. There are still functions in third-party applications that I think we prefer and aren't existing, at least yet, in Amazon. So one that comes to mind is the ability to get notified to an email address when there is a new review that needs your attention. Right now, I'm not sure if that functionality exists or is built into the reviews dashboard in Brand Central. So that's not to say that these third-party tools still can't be helpful. It's just that it's a significant step that Amazon choose to build this feature into their own platform. A lot of times from the software perspective, we're looking at what isn't available to sellers, what features aren't yet enabled or created by Amazon themselves. So we have to build that on our end as a third party. In this case, Amazon built the feature. They're allowing a brand registered seller to manage their product reviews right from inside Seller Central. And it saves us a lot of time, honestly, especially when we're dealing with a merchant where they have maybe hundreds of ASINs that we're having to monitor. Doing that with a manual workflow is resource intensive, to say the least.
Correct. We see this as an extra tool for being able to upgrade your reputation management strategy. And since there are limitations with who can actually use the customer reviews dashboard, it's still worth the time to use that in tandem with other manual workflows or software. But just as a side note, we do plan on doing a deep dive into reputation management on Amazon in a future episode.
Right. So Michael, let's take a step back. Let's talk about Amazon Brand Registry, because this is the program that allows a seller to be eligible for this new feature, the customer reviews dashboard. You can access Amazon's landing page for Amazon Brand Registry if you go to brandservices.amazon.com. We'll have that link in the show notes along with other important links that we'll be discussing. Straight from that page, they say, quote, Amazon Brand Registry helps you protect your intellectual property and create an accurate and trusted experience for customers on Amazon, unquote. So this is evidence that customer reviews are so important for the customer experience. so important that they're spending time and resources and energy building this feature for sellers. And this is the feature we're going to dive deeper into throughout the duration of this episode and also in future episodes, because product reviews on Amazon are such a hot topic. Sellers that own their own intellectual property really care about all of the reviews that are out there circling around on the internet. Amazon's giving them a tool to help them manage that. Currently, with Amazon Brand Registry, there are over 130,000 brands enrolled. I started selling products on Amazon back in 2016, more seriously in 2017. And at the time, Brand Registry was a new feature. So I enrolled shortly after obtaining a trademark, and I was on a wait list for about 6 months. So Amazon was processing those applications, taking their time, making sure the program got started right. It's cool to see now 2 years later, Brand Registry being such an important tool in an Amazon seller's arsenal or toolkit where they can take more control over their brand. And from my understanding, that was the exact intention Amazon had for Amazon Brand Registry, giving sellers more control over their products, over their selling account, and over their business ultimately, especially on the Amazon platform. Taking one more step back, maybe currently your business is restricted from applying for Amazon Brand Registry because you don't own a patent or a trademark. That's the first step. If you have a brand, get it registered with the appropriate authorities. Go there, go through the necessary steps. It's less painful than you think. If you feel like it's appropriate, hire an attorney to walk you through that process, but get your intellectual property protected. Take the first step because there's a lag time for that process, certainly. There's a series of reviews. Then proceed to Amazon Brand Registry. This might be a 1 to 2 year process or plan for your business, but it's going to be worth it because we're seeing here Amazon is giving preferential features, preferential treatment to those sellers on their platform that are in possession of the intellectual property or that intellectual property has been shared with them in the appropriate channels. So Michael, what's the next step? Where can sellers go to find this new feature inside of their account?
Yeah, so the customer reviews dashboard is a feature that's made available in the new brand dashboard. So if you are a brand registered seller, you now have access to this brand dashboard. Besides the customer reviews dashboard, if you haven't already spent some time in the brand dashboard, take half a day and just look at what's available there, because there's so many excellent tools that go even beyond the customer service parts of it. It goes more into strategy and some of the things that Amazon finds important. So definitely take the time to review that dashboard, try to understand what that information means. I've seen some really interesting information even in the conversions page where Amazon's trying to encourage sellers to perhaps even list their products on a lightning deal, things of that nature. So definitely spend time looking at those tabs. But if you are a brand registered seller, you can find the customer reviews dashboard by clicking on customer reviews from the brand dashboard on the left-hand side panel. However, if you don't see that made available to you, you can actually go to the direct link at sellercentral.amazon.com/brands/reviews. As of this time in July of 2019, this feature is for Amazon US only.
Our best guess is that Amazon will end up expanding this program globally. There's so many other complicated issues when you talk about global business, let alone global intellectual property. There's the appropriate governing authorities around intellectual property and how it's treated, not only worldwide, but also in each country have to be considered. But I think the usefulness and the functions around this feature are so important that I think everyone across the world should have access to something similar at least. So Michael, preview some of the features. What is Amazon allowing brand registered sellers to do?
The customer reviews dashboard has several really useful features. When you first come to the page on the left-hand side, you'll see several filters that you can use. You have the ability to filter by star rating, which allows you to select viewing only positive, viewing only critical, or viewing both. You also have the ability to filter by time period. That includes the options of this week, last week, or older. One thing that I did happen to note there is it seems that Amazon is currently only focused on reviews from the last 30 days. So as of this time, it doesn't seem that you can search for reviews that are older than 30 days. I imagine that'll be something that gets added in the future. But since this is such a new feature, this is likely why this is the case.
That's important to note, Michael. As you know, we go back sometimes months or years to tend to the reviews of our clients. I kind of wish Amazon had more of a depth to that history, but like you said, it's new. So we got to let them slowly roll it out and develop the features that are really important.
On that dashboard, you'll also find an ASIN search field. They request that you search by child ASIN. So that's another option that you have. One of the first really important options that you get here is the ability to add a comment. So when you come to the review, you'll notice a little comment button. When you click on the comment button, it opens up a new window where you can still see the review content, and Amazon provides you with a comment publicly on review dialog box. It allows you to type up to 2,000 characters, and it also includes some comment guidelines for you to keep in mind whenever you are commenting on your reviews. You no longer have to go look at those reviews on Amazon, find a direct link, and comment on it from there. You have the ability to do so directly from the customer reviews interface. From there, you also have a new action, which is marking a review as done, or if you are leaving a comment, there's a checkbox for mark as done after submitting. So this to me is very telling of several different things. Amazon wants you to engage with your reviews in some form or fashion by providing a public comment and allowing you to mark the review as done. They're encouraging sellers to take their time, look at what the review is saying, and create a public comment.
Yeah, in this way, they're almost leading a seller to say, since you can mark it as done, that's kind of what we want you to do. We want you to take a look, process it, check it, and voice your opinion if you feel like that's the correct action to take.
One more thing about this is that this is the first time where we've seen Amazon unofficially encourage sellers to comment on their reviews. There is material out there about how you can comment on reviews, like what type of content is allowed, but there's never been an explicit nudge to go and comment on your reviews. So the fact that Amazon is providing this action and they are encouraging you to make some sort of action with the done button is really telling of the fact that they want you to engage with your reviews.
Michael, you're exactly right. That's a very clear message. And it's the first one that we are aware of where Amazon is revealing their stance on it. They want sellers to be engaged in that process, and it helps Amazon. One of Amazon's primary goals is to have authentic reviews, and it's a hard thing to police when there are, I'm guessing, hundreds of millions of these, and they have automatic and manual ways of combing through those and detecting content that ought to be removed. But it's a big problem, and they're still continuing to battle it.
On that note, I think that leads us to the third most useful feature that we find here, which is being able to report abuse.
Right. This has come up in SellerSmile in our day-to-day. We wanted to talk a little bit about what does Amazon consider abuse, how we're thinking about it as an agency in the space. Our first goal when it comes to reputation management is to remain within Amazon's guidelines in terms of service. We always want to be white hat. So we felt it very important to take a closer look at what it means to report abuse according to Amazon. Because in a way, if we're not reporting abuse correctly, we're abusing it. So let's stay white hat. Let's figure out, how does Amazon suggest that we proceed? So if you're unaware, if you haven't seen this article yet, we'll provide a link in the show notes. The article we're referencing here is called Community Guidelines. It's a page that's accessible in Amazon's help and customer service. And a quote from that article reads, "If you discover a review that doesn't conform to our customer review policies or our customer review creation guidelines, you can report abuse from the product detail page." In the customer reviews dashboard, Amazon's allowing you to report abuse there, but the old workflow was to go directly to that product detail page, click a button, and submit that claim. In this case, let's talk about what abuse is. We're referring to the community guidelines document once again. Now, this document is quite large. There are many reasons Amazon is outlining where a seller can report abuse. So take a look at this document. We're going to link it in the show notes and refer to it often, especially as changes to it occurs. In our opinion, this is Amazon laying out what is abuse and which situations a seller should be taking action on their product reviews. So these are all the opportunities you have as a seller to make sure the product reviews on your brand registered items are authentic and are real, and they aren't the aftermath of a competitor attack.
Since Amazon's providing you with the opportunity to report abuse, sellers should do their own due diligence and making sure that they understand the community guidelines for those reviews. These are guidelines for your Amazon product reviewers. These are not necessarily guidelines for you as a seller, but for a shopper. So make sure that you understand those, maybe even bookmark that page if you're planning on using it frequently enough. There is a lot to go through on that page, but it's definitely going to be worth your time as it's only going to help create more authentic reviews for your store.
As a listener, just to give you an idea of what is in this document, first of all, the review has to be eligible. There's certain criteria of an account to even be able to be allowed to write a review in the first place. Next, it has to be helpful and relevant. It has to be respectful. There are certain promotions and commercial solicitations that Amazon is considering when they're evaluating whether or not a review should be permitted. If there's sexual content in the review, it might be removed. Infringing content, illegal activity. There's a whole list of additional guidelines for customer reviews. There are many circumstances and situations that qualify a review to be considered as abuse and removed from the marketplace. This is important and this is exciting because if your reviews for a product are affecting the sales, this essentially is giving you an opportunity to go in there, report abuse, thus pruning the product reviews on your items, getting them to a higher star rating. And according to Amazon's algorithm, your products are going to rank better as long as they are considering that as a factor. So this is an important step. It helps Amazon prune the reviews, make them more authentic, and it helps your products excel in search. In their additional guidelines section for customer reviews, Amazon states, we may restrict the ability to submit a review when we detect unusual reviewing behavior or to maintain the best possible shopping experience. So this is an important statement because it's so general. What does it mean to maintain the best possible shopping experience? If Amazon deems that something is a better experience, they retain the right to remove that review or to restrict it, considering it abuse. But the most basic point that Michael and I are trying to hit home here is that what is the best experience? For the most part, that's intuitive, but make sure you're aware of what Amazon considers abuse because that will inform your own reputation management strategy.
And with having that ability, you want to do your due diligence in making sure that when you do report abuse, it is abuse that comes from material that you got from the community guidelines. Since that is triggering an action on Amazon's side to actually review if the product review is actual abuse, what better way to do it than by including as a part of your reasoning something directly from the community guidelines. So keep that in mind. But again, as Ty mentioned with the quote on the additional guidelines for customer reviews, a lot of that information can be kind of general. So it's good for you to spend time with it because then you can form your opinion so that you can include that as a part of your reasoning for reporting abuse. With that being said, some of that is really gray area, but some of it can be black and white. So that, again, spend time, review that information, make sure that you understand it. In terms of SellerSmile's interpretation of what this means, you won't want to report abuse on every critical review, first off. It makes the review system inauthentic. If you're just trying to do that to increase the likelihood that you have more positive reviews, this system is placed there by Amazon to help create better, more authentic reviews. So if Amazon sellers use it in the correct way, this is only going to make the shopping experience for everyone better. But in terms of SellerSmile's own interpretation, right, some of the major highlights here come from what, like the quote that Ty just mentioned, but also there's a section there, promotions and commercial solicitations. In there, they say, creating, modifying, or posting content regarding your competitors' products or services. So this touches on what a lot of Amazon sellers tend to be worried about with their critical reviews. Is a competitor leaving critical reviews on my product review? So that section is where we think Amazon is talking about that issue directly. Along with everything else that you see in the community guidelines, we feel that you can consider reporting abuse for reviews that match some of the following criteria. Number one, if the language in the review is a 1, 2, or 3-star rating, but it doesn't really specify much on why they gave it that rating, that might be a potential sign of a fraudulent review. Now, we're not saying that's always the case. Some people are just really short. I've written really short reviews before. So take that with a grain of salt and consider that in tandem with some of these other criteria. Number two, the reviewer profile only leaves negative reviews. So if you look at their review profile and they've only left critical reviews and it only seems to be critical reviews of several of your products, that might be a red flag. But again, you will have a better understanding once you start digging into it and once you start kind of more of like a mini investigation into what's going on with this review. Just because it is a critical review doesn't mean that it is a fraudulent review. So be very mindful of that. Number three, the verified purchase status on the user profile. So if the review does not show as a verified purchase, along with some of the other criteria that I've mentioned, that might, again, be another red flag. That might be another reason to consider possibly reporting abuse. And number 4, looking into the profile and seeing the number of reviews posted, as well as the frequency of posts and average star rating for legitimacy. So again, none of these reasons on their own are reasons to consider a review fraudulent and then report abuse, but you might see a combination of some of this behavior. I think if you really spend time looking at reviews, you might start picking up on what might be more sketchy behavior. That might even be specific with your brand. Maybe you have competitors that tend to use certain types of language, maybe language that shoppers wouldn't even normally use. Those are things you can be mindful of. And if you feel that you've done your due diligence, you've investigated the review and it seems sketchy, then report abuse on it. But again, this is all SellerSmile's interpretation of ways that you can use the report abuse functionality, but do not abuse this feature.
Right. We were really happy to see Amazon Brand Registry launch this new customer reviews feature, not only because it helped us in our day-to-day in our own business, but to me, and I think you agree, it sort of is evidence that Amazon is focusing on the same things that we are. We monitor product reviews and we're responding to those. We're managing seller feedback. We're even talking about managing social media, chat. There are so many different public forums where customers and shoppers are having that conversation about your brand. I believe it's a brand owner's and a seller's right to have access to those conversations and to exert their voice in an authoritative way. And Amazon's putting the time and effort into building that directly into their system and their platform. So really exciting stuff.
And again, we'll come back and do a future episode on perhaps strategies on how to go about commenting on those reviews, how to go about resolving issues in those reviews. We'll do more of a deep dive on reputation management strategies on Amazon specifically. But for this episode, again, just get familiarized with the customer reviews dashboard if you already have this feature and start engaging with your customers.
Mike, let's transition to the third part of the episode here. Let's give our opinion on what does this mean in sort of the greater scheme of e-commerce and online selling. I wanted to start by reading another quote. We try not to have too many, but this one matched the theme of the episode perfectly. This is from the About Customer Reviews page, the shopper-facing page from the Help and Customer Service section on Amazon.com. The quote reads, "Customer reviews are meant to give customers genuine product feedback from fellow shoppers. Our goal is to capture all the energy and enthusiasm, both favorable and critical, that customers have about a product while avoiding use of reviews to outright advertise, promote, and especially mislead. We have a zero tolerance policy for any review designed to mislead or manipulate customers." Unquote. This is an excellent example of how serious Amazon is taking this issue. So what does this mean? It's further evidence of how important the authenticity and the helpfulness of customer reviews are to their platform. It's a sign to me that if people lose trust in the reviews on the platform, they might shop somewhere else, because ultimately Amazon wants shoppers' attention as much and as exclusively as possible. Another aspect to think about this, and this occurred to me right before we got on to talk, is that it's almost as if they're outsourcing review grooming. So in a sense, they're giving sellers the tools to go through their reviews and sort of with a fine-tooth comb, find all of the infringing and the abusive product reviews. That's evidence that Amazon, and we already know they take a one part automated, one part manual approach, but this is almost like a third approach where they're giving sellers the tools and the opportunity to help Amazon, to help themselves get rid of these inauthentic reviews that cause a poor customer experience.
I also believe that on the other side of that, they're also further outsourcing customer service to Amazon sellers. Before, it's kind of been this idea of, I'm not sure if Amazon wants me to comment on reviews, but now giving you the power to do things like reporting abuse, that's one action, right? But the other side of it, commenting on reviews, Amazon wants you to provide customer service for these buyers through that dashboard. And I see, for example, the Marcus Done action that we were referring to earlier, that specifically encourages sellers to take action. So use that to really start taking advantage of this. If Amazon is making it important for you, it needs to be something that becomes important for your business. Aside from that, Amazon really wants you to learn from your buyers' feedback. So by putting it on the brand dashboard, by putting it in your face and allowing you to see all of your buyers' feedback for each ASIN, you can really just kind of what we talked about on one of our prior episodes where we talk about crowdsourcing actionable insights from your customer service, this is a perfect way to do it. Someone on your team can literally come to that dashboard and just search for each ASIN and just comb the reviews and see what people are saying. Take the time to identify those themes.
There could be gems in there just waiting, different ideas of how to iterate your product, but especially the different pain points about your product. Those are the comments that we see most frequently, at least when it comes to neutral or critical reviews. Michael and I see those, and I hope sellers everywhere see those as little hints, little opportunities to reconsider your products, reconsider your business, and see how you can avoid those mistakes in the future.
The tool itself is also for buyers and sellers to connect more easily. So they already have the ability to contact you via buyer-seller messaging, and they have the ability to leave a review, leave feedback. But the ability to comment directly on the review and Amazon providing you that feature makes it easier for buyers and sellers to connect. So I see that as a first step, perhaps, or next step of many, of how Amazon is planning to connect buyers and sellers even further. One of our prior episodes, I think it was on the customer service roundup episode, we touched on how Amazon is encouraging buyers to write better reviews by giving them field prompts. So it asks them more specifics on what the buyer might have liked about the product, what they didn't like, things like that. So this is, again, just furthering the authenticity of reviews on Amazon.
Encouraging buyers to write better reviews. I was reminded of that, Michael, when we were covering some of the ways in which a product review could be removed. And one of the ways was if they didn't really give a good explanation for the star rating. To me, that's sort of setting the bar at least a little higher, where, let's say, a lazy reviewer is just going to be illegitimate in a way.
And if Amazon is presenting reviewers with these review prompts where they're asking more specific questions, but the review is still very short, very non-descriptive, this is a sign, again, of potential abuse.
Michael, let's cover some of the likely updates coming soon. You and I both have experience in software product management, and we know that product managers are always looking ahead towards the scheduled releases of new functions and new features. These are all going to be in the context of making reviews better. Tell us about some of the ideas you had.
Certainly. So this is all complete SellerSmile speculation. We speculated Amazon was working on a reviews dashboard altogether, and we've seen that happen. So what we're talking about here is perhaps some more natural steps to continue down that path. So we definitely expect to see more functionality added to the custom reviews dashboard in the near future. Some of the easy ones to maybe cover is, number one, expanded history. Right now, you see the trailing 30 days, and you can't go farther beyond that at this time. So we'll likely see more of that build as the reviews dashboard lives on in the brand dashboard. In addition to that, we might see global support. So as of this time, it's only Amazon US, but it's a natural next step to allow that on other Amazon marketplaces, as that's going to be useful for other Amazon sellers in different marketplaces as well. Going further, this is much more speculative, but there's also a possibility that Amazon might expand this feature to non-brand registered sellers. This could go either way, but if non-brand registered sellers who are also paying attention to the reviews have access to this, it only makes the shopping experience on Amazon better. So we see this as a potential next step that Amazon could add to this customer reviews dashboard. On the other side of this, making this only for brand registered sellers could be an incentive to become a brand registered seller.
In my opinion, Amazon, and not only Amazon, but Amazon is interested in including and injecting more transparency into the process from manufacturer all the way to the customer. How was that product assembled? How did it arrive? And what are its origins? Incentivizing sellers who own the intellectual property for products can only lead to a better experience and less issues, less reports of abuse, less inauthenticity, ultimately leading to better experiences on Amazon.
Certainly. These next features are more wish list items, but could be natural next steps to this feature. The first is comment notifications for buyers. So in one of our previous episodes, we covered how when a buyer leaves a review, if the seller, or really anyone else for that matter, leaves a comment on the review, buyers aren't currently notified of that update. So they might not know to come back and see that someone has left a comment and that perhaps they want to continue the discussion. The fact that Amazon has introduced the customer reviews dashboard and is allowing you, in fact, encouraging you to leave a comment, we see it as a natural step that buyers should know when they're getting a comment on the review. Otherwise, it's not really doing much for that specific buyer. Although, as we've talked about before, it might be something that is benefiting other potential buyers of your product.
Or in the case, Michael, where let's say we leave a comment on a product review, a helpful comment in some way, if the initial reviewer has a follow-up question and they type that as a response to our comment, I believe currently how the system is set up, we would not know that occurred. So it's much better experience that we're alerted of that circumstance. We can go back and submit our own reply if there's more information that needs to be communicated.
Exactly. There's not, the inverse of that is exactly what you just mentioned. There's not really a great way to see if the buyer were to even come back and comment back on your review. On that note, our next wish list item is live or daily review notifications for sellers. Again, this is not a current feature, and this is a SellerSmile speculation, but a natural feature that could fit into this in the future would be the ability for sellers to get review notifications when a new review or a new comment is updated on the product review. We've used software before that allows you to get notifications of new reviews. And if sellers have that ability to do it directly through Seller Central, you'll get live updates, things that are processing a lot quicker than perhaps other software that might have to wait on certain actions to be triggered on Amazon's backend systems. So live or daily review notifications for sellers would be extremely helpful for sellers to know, okay, this requires my action. I'm going to go take action on that now. Or it might also make you aware of a comment that's been updated. Maybe someone continued the conversation that you left a comment on. The final wish list item, and this is one that I'm really crossing my fingers for, is automatically messaging buyers directly from the customer reviews dashboard. Now, what I mean by this is there's always been a lot of issues surrounding if someone left a critical review and I want to help them, I want to make their experience better, you're very limited on options on what you can do because we've mentioned before there's software to hopefully try to match them to an order, but it's kind of hit or miss. You might be able to search for that buyer's name in orders of that ASIN. You might get lucky and find them, but oftentimes you cannot consistently find buyers who have left a review and be able to help them through buyer-seller messaging. The comment button is one way that we see increasing the ability to respond to reviewers. A great feature to add to that would be the ability to message them right away. There can still be a level of the anonymous Amazon email address that Amazon provides for buyer-seller messaging already, but being able to help buyers through buyer-seller messaging would be a better customer experience because if someone did have an issue, you have the ability to send them a replacement, send them a refund. And we see this as a potential feature that would really upgrade how the customer reviews dashboard interacts with shoppers and sellers. I personally think this would be a game changer.
I do too, Michael. Thank you for bringing that up. As a customer service team, there are so many circumstances where it would be much more helpful if we knew the order ID of that reviewer, because we can do some investigative work. What happened? Let's remedy it right away. But Amazon doesn't provide that information currently. We hope they do in the future because it helps us help their customers in a better way. Another angle to this wish list item feature is that I think it would help sellers more authentically report abuse, because if a seller has access to that order ID, maybe they can prove that this reviewer never made a purchase, or they can see other activity or other aspects of that profile that might lead them to believe that there's some type of malicious intent or abusive behavior happening. So very interested to see how Amazon continues to develop this customer reviews dashboard and how they continue to develop brand registry as a program itself. Michael, thank you for joining me for this conversation today. I think it's something that we found so interesting and enough so that we felt like it deserved its entire own podcast episode here. And look at us, we've already talked for 45 minutes about one feature.
We're kind of, we really obsess over this dashboard. It's really a game changer as it is already, but we definitely see a lot of awesome upgrades that could happen. And if you see an Amazon Seller Central survey presented to you on features you like to see, what features are useful to you, definitely take the time and give them that feedback, because there's someone on the other end there that has to make decisions on what to prioritize. And if they're getting a lot of feedback about the same thing, it's likely that it'll turn into a feature. So take the time and take those surveys.
Right. Be a proactive member of that community and help build Amazon, help build the future of what you want from a platform. We talked about so many important articles in this episode. They're all going to be in the show notes. You can go to sellersmile.com/013 for episode 13. Some of the articles are the landing page for Amazon Brand Registry. If you haven't registered yet, Set the process in motion of getting that intellectual property, which allows you to apply for brand registry, and you're going to gain access to all of those enhanced features. We're going to include a link to the community guidelines. These are the ways in which Amazon considers reviews valid or abusive. Familiarize yourself with that. Give it to your team. Let them know what's going on, so then you can be informed on how to take action against reviews that you suspect to be abusive. Next, the About Customer Reviews. This is the shopper-facing article explaining how Amazon expects shoppers to leave product reviews, what is and what is not allowed. And then finally, we'll have a link to the recent blog post we made about this new feature. Michael, that brings us to the end of episode 13. Would you do the honor of reading our customer service quote today?
For our lucky 13 quote, we have a quote directly from Jeff Bezos again. He says, "A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well." Do those hard things, guys.
To find the show notes, which includes links to the articles and resources we discussed, go to sellersmile.com/013. If you have your own e-commerce customer service question, we'd love to hear it. Submit it to keepsmiling@sellersmile.com. We're looking forward to seeing your email pop through and considering it for a future episode. And if you found this conversation valuable, please subscribe. You'll get the next episode straight to your device. Thanks again, and keep smiling.